So welcome to the stream. Remember, this game week has a Friday deadline, so the deadline is tomorrow. So 23 hours, 17 minutes left. Of course, still time to make our decisions. Do you think I should take a -8 to bring in Saka for Randers and Jared Bowen down to OB? I really like the idea of bringing in Saka. Jared Bowen did not look that great against Brentford on Monday, but I still think that Jared Bowen is a really good asset. However, Saka, he is actually a really good captain option this game week and next game week against Burnley. So at -8, probably not for a -8. You're selling a really good asset in Jared Bowen, so I can see the temptation in Bukayo Saka, of course, as mentioned. Really good fixture this game week, next game week as well. Crystal Palace, they are actually not that great defensively. They did well in the first couple of game weeks. And they have some defenders like Munoz, Guehi in the top 4 points. But they have actually contributed with attacking returns as well. Guehi, he has scored. Munoz with some assists and a goal as well. So Crystal Palace, they are actually one of the worst teams defensively for the last 4 game weeks. I think Arsenal will do well against them in game week 9. West Ham are struggling so much. I agree. I actually started this season with Jared Bowen. He was my game week 1 captain, to be honest, against Sunderland. I thought that West Ham would do well in game week 1, but Sunderland, they won this fixture 2-0. Really, really frustrating as a Jared Bowen owner. So after game week 2, I actually sold Jared Bowen, but he has actually scored, I think it's 3 goals since then. The thing is with Jared Bowen, if West Ham scores, he will most probably be involved with an assist or the actual goal. So I still think that Jared Bowen is decent. He's nailed on. He will play close to 90 minutes week in, week out. They have no European football, so selling Jared Bowen for a -8, I'm not really sure about selling Jared Bowen, to be honest. However, as mentioned, I really like Saka, but probably not on the expense of Jared Bowen. Bench team for all the goals. He blanks in the easy fixtures and scores in the difficult ones. It's a bit frustrating, of course. I've done the same this season with Sar, the Crystal Palace midfielder. I will bench Sar this game week as well. He's currently on my bench for the tough fixture away against Arsenal, and he will most likely score in this game. FPL FOMO, thanks for joining in. A pessimistic Lead fan, expecting West Ham to be much better. Couldn't be any worse. The thing is that Leeds, I have watched most of the Leeds games so far this season. They have been quite solid defensively, but I was kind of surprised about the 2-0 Burnley win against Leeds. I was actually expecting Leeds to do better in this fixture, but I had Dubravka as my goalkeeper last game week, so I was happy after that game. I might take a captaincy punt on Mbumo. I think this is a good idea. I've actually considered this myself. Let me put some graphics on the screen. So I always make a team selection video with captain selection, where I take a look at some of the best differentials, some of the best captain options as well. So what I do is that I take a look at their opponent's defensive stats. So let's see if I can find Mbumo. So Mbumo playing against Brighton. I was really tempted by Mbumo as well when I first picked my best team right after the game week 8 deadline. So Mbumo looks really good on paper, but after taking a closer look, I think that I might stay away from the Mbumo captain punts. Brighton, they have actually been quite solid defensively for the last 4 game weeks. They haven't gotten any clean sheets, but they have only conceded 5 goals, only 5 big chances as well. 12 shots on target, expected goal of 5.04. So, of course, Man United can do well. It's at Old Trafford, but I think that this fixture looks better than it probably will be on Saturday. Anderson, Estev, Mateta, Richards start 2. This is Elliot Anderson, right, from Nottingham Forest. The Fulham defender Anderson, he will not play, so it's between Elliot Anderson, Estev, Mateta. I would most probably just start Mateta if you have him in your team. 90 minutes man. I'm sorry. 90 minutes man on penalties for Crystal Palace. I know the fixture is really tough, but it would be really frustrating having a Mateta Hall on your bench considering the price as well. So Mateta, he would definitely start. I think I would go for Richards on the bench. Can't really see Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal. So it's between Elliot Anderson and Estev. Would most probably just play the midfielder. Bench Estev in game week 9. Let's see, Burnley away against Wolves. Really good fixture for Burnley, of course. Nottingham Forest away against Bournemouth. So Burnley, they have the better fixture, but Elliot Anderson, I know that he has been a bit disappointing compared to what we were expecting this preseason. But I still think that he should start for your team in game week 9. On some set pieces, corners, as mentioned, so he can potentially pick up both defensive contribution points, of course, and assists as well. So I would start Mateta and Elliot Anderson. If not Mbeumo, then Semenyo, but I'm definitely going against Holland this week. I think that this is a decent week to take a captain punt, to be honest. I'm currently on Erling Haaland, but if I had another good captain candidate from my team for game week 9, I would definitely go for a punt. But my other options, Mbeumo, I started this game week with Mbeumo as my captain, as mentioned, but Brighton, they have done well defensively. My other options, Joe Pedro, blanked for so many game weeks. Same goes for Gyökeres. NGI, Kudus playing against each other. I mean, Richards and Anderson are mainly for defcons. Yeah, the thing is with Anderson is he's on some set pieces as well. Nottingham Forest, they have not been as effective as we got used to last season on their corners, but at some point they will probably score. Why do you have Shad? Good question. I think I transferred him in for game week 3. Did well in his first game for my team. I think he got 8 points, something like that, in game week 3. But after this, he picked up an injury, a concussion in the dying minutes ahead of game week 4 in the Champions League, and he hasn't played a single minute in the Premier League since. So kind of frustrating. I know he's fit. He's been on the bench for the last couple of game weeks, but it looks like Tsiav and Botman are the preferred center backs for Newcastle at the moment. So really, really frustrating. I might actually have to transfer him out ahead of this game week. So I will wait and have a look at the predicted starting 11 for Newcastle. I've seen one of them so far, and Shahi's not in the starting 11. Why do you have Shah? Good question. Esa Parker, should I bench boost? My bench is Dubravka, Reinders, Senesi, and Rodon. Yeah, that's a decent bench. I think all of them will start. Dubravka and Burnley, they have a decent fixture as well, playing against Wolves. Reinders, decent option. Senesi playing against Forest, and Rodon against West Ham. West Ham, they did not look threatening against Brentford on Monday, so I think that game week 9 is a decent game week to play your bench boosts. The thing is that when you have 4 starters on your bench with decent fixtures, I think that's enough to activate the bench boost at the moment. There will be injuries, and at some point really soon there will be suspensions as well. Players picking up 5 yellow cards, stuff like that. So there will be hard to have 15 starters in your squad at some point, and fixtures will be even more congested when we get closer to Christmas as well. So as if you have 15 players at the moment, I think you should play your bench boost. I think this bench boost will do well. As mentioned, Dubravka, one of the better fixtures for Burnley. They kept the clean sheet last game week, so they will, of course, try to replicate this. Will probably have some defensive confidence. Burnley, they even though Burnley kept the clean sheets in game week 8, they are actually the team that have conceded the most goals in the last 4 game weeks. Foltmada, he is the most transferred in player ahead of game week 9. Mateta as well, even though the picture is really, really tough for Mateta. I think that he potentially can wait. I'm not sure if I would use a transfer selling the likes of Joao Pedro. I know that this is a really popular transfer, selling Joao Pedro to bring in Mateta. Would definitely wait until game week 10. Joao Pedro with a decent fixture, playing at home against Sunderland. So the top 3 for most transfers out, Joao Pedro is on that list. The most transferred out player is Mo Salah. Joao Pedro is second, and third is Gyökeres. What's really interesting is that 3 of those players, Salah, Gyökeres, and Joao Pedro, all 3 of them are in The bookies predicted top 5 for anytime goal scorers in game week 9. I'm talking about this in my team selection video. It's linked in the description. So if you're interested in watching that one, that would be really, really appreciated to support the channel and up the watch time hours as well. I make weekly team selection videos, and I do those Q&As the night before the deadline. So it's usually on a Friday, but since the deadline is on a Friday in game week 9, my Q&A is on a Thursday. Soba is my name. Should I bench Kudus or Sar? I think that in game week 9, Sar is a player that has to go to the bench. At least that's what I'm doing. I have both of those players. So Kudus playing against Everton. I think this is a better fixture compared to Crystal Palace playing away against Arsenal. Arsenal, they are the best defense, and Crystal Palace, they are actually a bit overrated. Let's put up some stats from Crystal Palace. Give me a minute. There we go. So I'm actually a bit tempted by Gyökeres captaincy in game week 9. Took a look at the stats from the last 4 game weeks. Crystal Palace, they haven't been that great. I mentioned this earlier on this stream as well. They haven't kept any clean sheets. They have conceded 7 goals, 14 big chances, 19 shots on target, and they have an expected goal of 6.86. So I think that the Crystal Palace, especially their defense, is a bit overrated, and I can't really see them keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal in game week 9. Ashan Rocks. So are we captaining Semenyo? I think that at least from what I've seen on Twitter yesterday and today as well, there are a lot of players that's really tempted by the Semenyo captaincy in game week 9. Let's have a look in the poll. So if you haven't voted, go vote in the poll. Holland, he is the favorite so far, 75. And Semenyo, he is second with 25% of the votes. No votes for Saka. No votes for the someone else option. Neither. Hello, 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 hello. Hopefully the sound is working again. I'm not really sure why it stopped working, but at least the graph is going up and down. So hopefully the sound is back. But please let me know in the chat if you can hear at least something. So why not play Rodon ahead of Shad? I can see, of course, home game for Leeds. The thing is that I have Lucas Paqueta, so one of them will cancel each other out. So if Rodon gets a clean sheet, this would mean that Paqueta blanks. And if Paqueta does something in that fixture, it would most probably mean a Rodon blank. So I always try to avoid having my midfielders and forwards play against my defenders. I might actually do a transfer this game week. Just get rid of Fabian Schär, to be honest. Can't really see him retaining his spot. He's not in the predicted starting 11 for Newcastle, so I might just go for another Newcastle defender. It would probably be Dan Burn. Let's see who I can get. $6 million. I would have 6 million to spend on a replacement for Fabian Schär. Diouf is an option, but as mentioned, I wasn't really impressed by West Ham against Brentford on Monday, so I'm not that tempted by Diouf. He didn't even start that fixture. Could go for a Chelsea defender, Shalba, probably the best option at that price. Cucurella would be my preferred option actually, but he's 6.1, so I can't actually afford Cucurella at the moment. So is the sound actually back on? So hopefully the sound is fine. I had some technical difficulties with my microphone. I've had this for a while, but this time I wasn't able to bring the sound quickly back on, but hopefully the sound is back. So if you want your team reviewed, head over to X and post a picture of your team. Let's see. So use this post with the same thumbnail as this stream. Post a picture in the comments. So this is my team at the moment. Sanchez, he will start Dubravka. He has a decent fixture as well, playing against Wolves, but I will probably just start Sanchez. I have Fabian Schär. I don't think that he will start, so if I make a transfer ahead of game week 9, it will be Fabian Schär out. I have 6 million for a replacement. Might go for a Chelsea defender. Thing is that if I go for a Chelsea defender, I would have a triple up on Chelsea, so I wouldn't be able to bring in Enzo Fernandez later on. So Diouf, he has been on my watch list for a couple of game weeks. He has contributed with 3 assists so far this season, but West Ham, they did not look great on Monday. So hopefully the sound is back on. I'm not really sure what's going on at the moment. So I had those technical issues earlier, but the quick fix solution was just to unplug my microphone and plug it back in. But you know this little speaker symbol in the right hand corner on the computer? This just shuts down completely, so there's some other technical issues this time, but hopefully the sound is back on and hopefully it will stay on. I've actually had a couple of streams, the last couple of streams, The sound has been completely fine. Thought I had solved the problem, but then another problem shows up. But I can hear you. Thanks for letting me know, FPL Lisa, and thanks for joining in as well. Are you ready for game week 9? I'm not really confident ahead of game week 9. I have Fabian Schär. I don't think he'll start. I have Pedro Porro playing against NGI. My bench is not that strong. I have Rodon, of course. It was mentioned in the chat why I wouldn't just play Rodon ahead of Fabian Schär. The only worry with Rodon is that he will play against Paqueta, so that's why he is on my bench. I might just transfer Fabian Schär out. He's priced at 5.4. I have 0.6 in the bank, so I have 6 million for a replacement. But it's not really any replacements that stands out at the moment. Of course, I can go for Shalba, I can go Reece James. I'm 0.5, 1 short of getting Cucurella. But if I bring in another Chelsea defender, this would mean I'm triple up on Chelsea and I will not be able to bring in Enzo Fernandez. And this is one of the reasons in my wildcard video I'm talking about why I would not have Guhi as my third striker at the moment. Would go for Obi instead, the Man United forward priced at 4.3. I think that he is a better fodder compared to Guhi at the moment. Chelsea, they have really good fixtures. They have some really well-priced assets. So I wouldn't want to waste a Chelsea spot on Guhi. So both Salah, Gyökeres, two of the most transferred out players ahead of game week 9. They are actually the bookies' favorites for anytime goal scorer ahead of this game week. So I think that there will be a lot of disappointed managers, and hopefully Gyökeres and Joao Pedro can deliver. So Gyökeres, he scored 2 goals in the Champions League, and hopefully he can do well against Crystal Palace. I had some stats up on the screen. Crystal Palace, I think they are a bit overrated. Let's get this back on. When we take a look at the stats from the last 4 game weeks, Crystal Palace, they haven't really looked that great. They haven't kept any clean sheets, 7 goals conceded, 14 big chances, 19 shots on target, and an expected goal of 6.86. So Crystal Palace, a bit overrated. I think that Arsenal will do well against them in game week 9. Another captain option for me is Mbumo. Looks really good on paper, playing at home, Old Trafford against Brighton, but Brighton, they have actually done well recently. They haven't kept any clean sheets, but when we take a look at the stats, they are like 7th, 5th, 6th, 10th for expected goals conceded. So this is why I will probably not go for the Mbumo captain punt in game week 9. I still think that this is a really good game week to take a captain punt. Erling Haaland playing away against Aston Villa. So if you own Saka, if you own Bruno Fernandes or Semenyo, I think those are really good captain options this game week. I think it's because Crystal Palace defenders are always scoring or getting assists. Yeah, I totally agree. The likes of Munoz, of course, he has contributed with attacking returns. Both goals, 2 assists in game week 8. So he is one of the top scoring defenders. The same goes for Guihi. He has picked up defensive contribution points as well. Scored a goal. Got maximum bonus in, I think it's 2 game weeks as well. Should I transfer out Salah this game week? I think it's time to let Mo Salah go, to be honest. So Liverpool, they have a decent fixture playing against Brentford, but I think Mo Salah is way too expensive at the moment. He's not even a 90 minutes man. We've seen that slot. He tends to taking off a bit earlier this season compared to the 24-25 season. Of course, he will still start most games, but on penalties. But I think that Salah is a sell, especially if you don't own Saka at the moment. I think that selling Mo Salah to bring in Saka is a no-brainer, to be honest. I think Saka, as mentioned, I think that he could be a good captain punt this game week, and in game week 10, Arsenal, they are playing against Burnley, so selling Salah to bring in Saka should be actually an improvement, and you will save some funds as well. Should I bench boost with Dubravka, Krupa Jr., Gudmundsson, and Lacroix? I had this question earlier on. This bench is probably a bit weaker, seeing that you have Lacroix, tough fixture. I can't really see Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal, but really good fixture for Dubravka. It's the best fixture for Burnley in a while. So you will have a starting goalkeeper with clean sheet potential. You will have Krupa Jr. His inform did well in game week 8. At the moment, Evan Nilsson is injured, so he is likely to start in game week 9. Gudmundsson as well, decent fixture. West Ham did not look great against Brentford this Monday. So even though Lacroix has a bit of a tough fixture, I think that this is good enough for a game week 9 bench boost. I talked about this earlier. As long as you have 4 starters on your bench, I think we should activate the bench boost at the moment. We're heading in to a really busy schedule. There could be injuries soon. Players will have 5 yellow cards and be suspended. So is this good enough for a bench boost? I'd say yes. Thanks, Matt. Maybe Lacroix can give some defcons. Definitely he can, and in tough fixtures, it's often easier for those kind of players to get defcons as well. So I think if Lacroix gets 3 points in this fixture, it will be a great result. You will probably get a -1 for conceding 2 goals. Can't really see, as mentioned, Crystal Palace keeping a clean sheets, but the odds for a Lacroix defcon in game week 9 is actually quite good. So I actually bench boosted in game week 8. I had Dubravka. He did really well, 9 points. He actually saved my bench boost. I had Pedro Porro and Van de Ven. 0 points from Van de Ven 1 point from Pedro Porro, but Dubravka 9 points. I got 4 points from NGI. He picked up defensive contribution points against Man City. He looked really, really good in that fixture. I have really high hopes for NGI going forward. I watched most of the Everton games. I remember that game against Aston Villa. NGI did not impress me. This was the first game week with NGI in my team. Did not impress me, but as mentioned against Man City in game week 8, I think that he looked really, really good. So hopefully NGI can do something against Spurs. However, I have Pedro Porro in my team. So this would mean that he most probably blanks. So this is the reason why I'm not really confident ahead of game week 9. I have Fabian Schär as well. I don't really think that he will start. I have Rodon, possibly on the bench, but if I start Rodon, he will still play against Paketa. Of course, I can do something like Sar in, Paketa to the bench, but once again, I will have Timber playing against Sar, so FPL FOMO, I'm benching Lacroix, Munoz, and Mateta this week. If they score big points, then it's just bad luck for me. Of course, the fixture can't be much tougher for Crystal Palace playing away against Arsenal in game week 9. So if you still have a decent starting 11, it totally makes sense to bench Palace players this game week. I'm benching Sar myself. Any transfers this week? I might do a transfer, to be honest. It's probably Schär to leave my team ahead of game week 9. I haven't really figured out who should be his replacements. I have been a bit tempted by Diouf, only priced at 4.4. Good attacking stats, decent fixtures for West Ham, but he was benched in game week 8, came on in the second half. I think he'll probably start in game week 9, but is Diouf really a good replacement at the moment? Kind of lost the confidence in Diouf after watching that game against Brentford on Monday, so I can go for a Chelsea defender, Chalobah, probably James as well, but this would mean that I'm triple up on Chelsea and I will not be able to bring in Enzo Fernandez. Palace are playing a full strength team tonight, no one being rested for the Arsenal game. I haven't really watched I've actually forgotten to check the Crystal Palace lineup this evening, but FPL FOMO, he is writing in the chat that Crystal Palace, they are playing their full strength team in Europe, so this definitely means that it makes sense to bench the Crystal Palace players against Arsenal. Archambat, have you thought of transfer Porro to Reece James? I haven't really thought about selling Pedro Porro this game week. I think that Fabian Schär is a priority sell for me at the moment. Pedro Porro, at least he will continue starting. Things with Fabian Schär is that even though Newcastle have good fixtures coming up, I don't really think that he is nailed at the moment. He haven't started the last couple of game weeks, even though he's back from injury. So Fabian Schär, he is definitely the player I will sell if I will make a transfer ahead of game week 9. So he's priced at 5.4. I have 0.6 in the bank, so I can get a replacement up to 6 million. So Pedro Porro to Reece James, probably a good move, but if I were to do a similar transfer, it would be Fabian Schär to Reece James. My only worry with Chelsea defenders, I really like Chelsea's fixtures going forward, and I think that their defenders are really good value, but I already have Sanchez in goal. I already have Joao Pedro up front, so this would mean that I'm tripled up on Chelsea, and I will not be able to bring in Enzo Fernandez. So I actually had my first watch along stream this Monday. I was really, really excited ahead of the West Ham against Brentford game. But it was a horrible watch, to be honest. Really frustrating. Paquetá didn't do much. And Brentford, they won 2-0. So Aston Villa, they lost this evening 2-1 against Go Ahead Eagles. Aston Villa, they decided to rest a couple of their key players. Matty Cash on the bench, Esri Konsa on the bench, John McInn, Rogers, Mal benched. So Crystal Palace, they are playing at the moment against Larnaca, the Greek team. Let's see. FPL FOMO, he mentioned that they are playing full strength. Sar is starting, Mateta starting as well, Munoz, Guehi, Lacroix. Richards is actually benched. So does this mean that Richards is rested, or has he actually lost his spot? Buendia missed a penalty for Aston Villa. They have no good penalty takers. So maybe Watkins will take the next one. Who should I transfer out if I want Gabriel in defense? Van Dijk, Reece James, Lacroix, Senesi, or Gudmundsson? Probably Van Dijk, I'd say. Reece James, I think that he is a really good option at the moment. Lacroix, really good value. Senesi as well, he will pick up defensive contributions. We've seen that he is a really solid player when it comes to defcons. Gudmundsson, really good value as well, only priced at 4 million. So in my opinion, Van Dijk is a bit too expensive at the moment, especially when Alisson Becker is injured. So I think that Van Dijk to Gabriel would be a decent move. Will you do another watch long? I was actually discussing this while doing the other watch long, especially after the game. Wasn't really tempted by doing another one, but I will definitely set up another watch long. Hopefully the game will be a bit better. As mentioned, I had a watch long during the West Ham against Brentford game this Monday with Lucas Paquetá. So I was really, really excited for that game, but Paquetá, he did not look good, and West Ham, they lost 2-0. So I usually do those Q&As on Friday nights. The reason why this is a Thursday Q&A is because the deadline is on a Friday. So the deadline is tomorrow. It's 22 hours and 20 minutes away. So we'll do this Q&A this evening, and I will have a deadline stream a couple of hours before the deadline tomorrow as well. I actually have some exciting news for this channel. I've actually got a sponsor this week, signed a contract actually this morning. So there will be some interesting news coming up. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't done so, please consider giving the stream a like as well. I think this helps the stream being seen by more people, so that would be really, really appreciated. Well, great news. Great news. That's probably for the sponsor thing, right? Thanks. Hopefully this will be a fruitful cooperation. So it's this football manager game called Futium. I haven't really tried the game, but I will create an account and try it out before giving my review. That's yes, for the sponsor. Yeah, it's for a football manager game online. I think that the season is like 20 days, something like that. Start in Division 8 and try to make it all the way up to the top. So from what I've seen, it looks really, really interesting. You can train your players, you can sign new players as well. You can scout and pick up youth players and upgrade your stadium, stuff like that. Play live games against other teams. So I will share some more information about this really, really soon, but I have to admit I haven't really looked into the game that much, but from what I've seen and from what I've read, it looks really, really fun. So I'm actually looking forward to trying it out as well. Is Gyökeres worth it? I wouldn't necessarily consider buying Gyökeres at the moment, even though he scored 2 goals in the Champions League. I have actually considered and looked at some options to move Gyökeres to bring in Bukayo Saka. So my preferred option from Arsenal at the moment is definitely Bukayo Saka. If you need a new forward, I think that there probably are better options. I don't necessarily see Gyökeres as a sell ahead of game week 9. I like the fixture playing against Crystal Palace. We'll put some stats up on the screen. I mentioned this 10 minutes ago. I think that Crystal Palace are a bit overrated, especially when we consider their defense. So they have actually some of the worst defensive stats from the last 4 game weeks. So no clean sheets, 7 goals conceded, 14 big chances, 19 shots on target, and 6.86 expected goals conceded. So this is 19th, 18th, 16th, and 15th. So I think Arsenal will do well against Crystal Palace in game week 9. So if you're interested in having your team reviewed, head over to X, post a picture under my latest posts. Let's repost this. So it's this one, the Q&A game week 9. Post a picture in the comments and I'll get your team up on the screen. Jonathan is a really enjoyed the stream so far. You've gained a sub. Really appreciate it. Thanks for letting me know and thanks for subscribing. I usually do the Q&A stream on Fridays, the night before the deadline. The reason why I do a Thursday Q&A is because of the Friday deadline in Game Week 9. So there will be a Q&A tonight. There will be a deadline stream tomorrow as well. I post weekly team selection videos as well. So if you're interested and if you want to support the channel, watch them as well. Help me get my watch time up a bit. I mentioned this as well. I've actually signed a contract today with a sponsor, a football manager game, a live football manager game playing against other teams. Will be more news about this. I just need to try the game a bit to have a bit more information to share, but it looks really good, and from what I read it sounds really good as well. What's not that great is my watch long on Monday. The watch long was decent. It was a good live stream, but the result was actually terrible. I watched the West Ham against Brentford game with Packet. I was really excited all day for that fixture, but was really disappointed with the result. However, I will try to have another watch long as well. I haven't really decided when, so we'll probably try another Monday night football stream. It can potentially be an upcoming Monday if I find the time. Let's quickly check who's playing this Monday night. Of course, no Monday night game. Could potentially do a Friday night watch long with the Leeds West Ham fixture, but this would be a new record stream definitely. If I do the deadline stream a couple of hours before the deadline and do a watch long, this would be like a 4 to 5 hour stream. FPL FOMO, I had Jared Bowen against Brentford. Jared Bowen captain against Brentford. That must have been really frustrating. Ooh. I was paying close attention to Jared Bowen as well. He's on my watch list. I think he's still a decent option. He will most probably be involved for the next West Ham goal, but they did not look really threatening against Brentford. I think that Brentford actually did pretty well. They got a lot of chances against West Ham on Monday. Recommendations on captaincy. Is it Holland this week again? For my team, it will most probably be, it's a bit boring, but it's safe. It will probably be Erling Haaland for me. The captaincy is on Erling Haaland. But when I set up my bus team right after the game week 8 fixtures started, right after the game week 8 deadline, my captain was actually Mbumo. I think that the fixture looks really good on paper. Man United playing at home against Brighton. So I'm still a bit tempted by Mbumo, but after taking a closer look at Brighton's stats, I've actually gone away from the Mbumo captaincy. So Man United playing at home against Brighton. As mentioned, looks really good on paper. When we delve into the stats, Brighton, they have actually done pretty well defensively for the last 4 game weeks. They haven't kept any clean sheets, but they're 7th for goals conceded, 5th for big chances conceded, 6th for shots on target. If the trend continues, I think that Man United probably can struggle. I think Man United will score, but I can't really see this being a 4 or 5-0. I captained Bruno for a -2 a few weeks ago, Bowen for a 4-pointer this game week. At least you're being positive. Jared Bowen 4 points is much better than Bruno Fernandes -2. Mustafa Hassan, should I start with James, Timber and Gabriel? Also, should I bench Guhi and play 4 at the back? If yes, then who should start, Senesi or Van Dijk? So seeing that you have Van Dijk in your team, I would definitely start Van Dijk ahead of Guhi. He might actually start. There are some rumors about Guhi starting, but I'm not really sure. I watched him in the second half in game week 8. I wasn't really impressed from what I saw. Of course, if we get the confirmation that Guhi starts in game week 9, it will be tempting. He will start as number 9. Joe Pedro will be 10, but I think I would just keep Guhi on my bench and play 4 at the back with Van Dijk. The thing is that if you're considering to bench Virgil van Dijk playing against Brentford, he's priced at 6 million. I think that if you're not starting Van Dijk, I think that he probably should be sold, to be honest. I know that Liverpool, they haven't impressed us defensively, especially. So the injury to Alisson Becker is of course not good for Liverpool defenders, and at the moment I don't really think that Van Dijk is worth his price tag. Let's see. No goals in the Crystal Palace game, still 0-0. 24 minutes played. As pointed out by FPL FOMO in the chat, Crystal Palace, they are actually playing their strongest starting 11 in this fixture. The only players that's not starting, that has started the last couple of Premier League games, is Richards, the American centre back. Don't really know what this means. Is he rested? Is he carrying a small injury? Will he miss out in game week 9? I'm not really sure. I haven't had any information, haven't read any news on Richards, but Lacroix starting, Henderson in goal, Guehi, Mitchell, Munoz, Mateta starting, Sarr as well. So strong starting 11 for Crystal Palace. Looking at City's away record this season and Emery's low block, it might be challenging for Haaland. I definitely agree, and I totally think that this is a really good game week to go for a captain punt. So if I had If my other captain candidates were a bit better, I would most probably go for a punt this game week. But Mbumo, as mentioned, not on penalties. Bruno Fernandes will take the next penalty for Man United. And can we really trust Man United? I'm not sure. And the fixture is not that easy as it looks on paper. So Mbumo is tempting, but I think the Haaland probably is better. I have Paquetá playing against Leeds. He's on penalties for West Ham, but they looked really, really poor on Monday against Brentford. So I'm not really tempted by Paquetá. Joe Pedro, of course, decent fixture playing against Sunderland. But when we take a close look at their stats as well, same as with Brighton, Sunderland, they are actually a decent defensive team. And of course, Joe Pedro, he hasn't really impressed recently, blanked so many games. So Joe Pedro, of course, I have Gyökeres as well. Scored 2 goals in the Champions League, so I think I probably will do something like this. I could actually go for a Gyökeres punt this game week. Hoping that Erling Haaland can stay quiet. At least I will own him. Erling Haaland, he is the bookie's favorite for anytime goal scorer, as you can see in the graphics on the right-hand side. Haaland against Aston Villa, 52% of a goal. This is actually the lowest he has been in recent weeks, 52. He's usually close to 60 or sometimes above 60% chance of a goal as well. I might be tempted by a crush. One of the reasons I will show you on the screen in a minute. On paper, playing against Crystal Palace doesn't really look that great, but they haven't really done well defensively. They have conceded 7 goals, 14 big chances, 19 shots on target. They have an expected goal of 6.86. Really risky pick with Gyökeres. I totally agree. And the Gyökeres captaincy is definitely not locked in, but it's tempting. As Jonathan is saying in the chat, I don't really like the fixture for Erling Haaland. I think it's a really, really good game week to go against him. I'm going Mbumo captain. So Mbumo, he was actually my captain when I set up my bus team right after game week 8 started. The reason why I'm not that tempted by Mbumo anymore is the fact that he will not be on penalties. Bruno Fernandes is still their first choice penalty taker, and Brighton, they have actually been really good defensively for the last 4 game weeks. Let's put the Brighton stats back on. So these are the defensive stats for Brighton. And one of the reasons why I've gone from the idea of captaining Mbumo in game week 9. But however, I'm still tempted. As mentioned a couple of times already, I think this is a really good game week to go for a captain punt. Bet against Erling Haaland. My only worry is that there are some issues with all of my other captain candidates. I mentioned Mbumo, not on penalties, tough fixture playing against Brighton, who have looked good defensively. Joe Pedro, So many blanks. Gyökeres, same as with Joe Pedro. Paqueta, decent fixture, but West Ham, they looked terrible. Kudus, not on penalties, playing against Everton away. And he looked really good against Man City in game week 8. So, but is NGI really a captain option? I'm not sure. I would feel pretty stupid if I go for NGI captain and if he blanks and Erling Haaland gets another brace. That would be really, really annoying. I feel like Palace are better than Brighton defensively. I totally agree on this. I think most FPL managers and most players watching the Premier League would say the same, that Palace are a really good defensive team while Brighton. But I think we're kind of colored by the first couple of game weeks. Crystal Palace, they did really well while Brighton struggled, but the new stats from the last 4 game weeks shows a different picture. Brighton, they have been really solid, while Crystal Palace, they have struggled. FPL Lisa in the chat pointed out that one of the reasons why Crystal Palace players are really, really popular, especially their defenders, is because they have contributed with attacking returns as well. So Munoz, he has scored brace of assists in game week 8. Guehi as well, he's got a goal. He has had maximum bonus in 2 fixtures, picked up DEFCON points as well. So I think that this is one of the reasons why the Crystal Palace defense are that popular at the moment. It's not really because of their defensive ability in the last 4 game week at least. And of course, especially in game week 9 playing against Arsenal, I think Crystal Palace potentially can struggle. But I totally get the feeling. I feel like Palace are better than Brighton defensively. I totally agree. I thought this as well right after game week 8, but after taking, as mentioned, a closer look at the stats, I think that Palace probably are a bit overrated. Of course, I might be wrong. They might actually keep a clean sheet against Arsenal in game week 9, but I don't think that this is going to happen. What I think is really interesting ahead of game week 9 is the fact that 2 of the most transferred out players, Salah, actually all of them, Salah, Joao Pedro, Gyökeres, they are the bookies' favorites when we take a look at anytime goal scorer odds. So Erling Haaland, he's on top. Salah, he is second. Gyökeres is number 3 with 40%. And Joao Pedro, he is 5th. So Salah, Joao Pedro, Gyökeres, the most sold FPL options ahead of game week 9. They are also the bookies' favorites for anytime goal scorer. I think there will be a lot of disappointed FPL managers. Hopefully Joao Pedro, I think it's better for him if Guehi starts in game week 9 and Joao Pedro starts as a number 10. I would really like to see this. Why don't you go for Semenyo? I've had this question a lot, to be honest. I think that, how should I explain this? I think I've lost the train on Semenyo at this point. I can't really see him keeping it up, to be honest. We take a look at how he's done recently. I think that at some point he will regress back to his old means. It didn't actually look that great in game week 8. Of course, picked up an assist, but I have to be honest, I have been close to transfer Semenyo in. FPL Lisa, she has told me to transfer Semenyo in every game week since game week 3. I'm not saying that Semenyo is a bad option, so I'm actually talking about Semenyo in a couple of my videos. He's included in my game week 9 wildcard video this game week, and he has been for the last couple of game weeks as well. So I'm not saying that Semenyo is by any means a bad transfer, but for my team at the moment, getting in 8 million Semenyo, not really sure. I'm really hoping that Semenyo at some point will stop scoring FPL points. And I think this is likely, to be honest. Players that are likely to rise in price this evening. Reece James, he's back on the menu. Did really well in game week 8, of course. He's fit at the moment, and a fit Reece James, he will always be a really good FPL option. He can play in midfield as well. I still think that he is a good FPL asset, even if he's playing in defense or in midfield. On some set pieces, can potentially pick up clean sheets, defensive contributions. So Reece James, a fit Reece James, I'm actually tempted to bring him in. My only worry with Reece James, if I decide to bring in Reece James, I will not be able to bring in Enzo Fernandez. I think that he is a really good option as well. I was really close to bring in Enzo Fernandez in game week 8, but I went for Pakta. I kind of regret this transfer, to be honest. Should have just gone for Enzo Fernandez. But of course, Enzo Fernandez, he did not play, so Pakita actually outscored Enzo in game week 8. So I think the decision, in hindsight, it was probably right to bring in Pakita. And so he was yellow flagged, even though the fixture was really good. So he played midweek. Does this mean that Enzo will be benched in game week 9? I'm not really sure. I think that he is really important for this Chelsea team. So I can potentially see Enzo Fernandez starting in game week 9. I would like to have him if I were to play my wildcard this game week. Enzo Fernandez, he would definitely be in. If I had more free transfers, I would consider bringing in Enzo. Any reason for a Timber over Gabriel? I was really close to bringing in Gabriel as well, to be honest. The reason why I went Timber is because of the funds. This gave me a bit more in the bank. And Timber, he has really good defensive stats as well. Of course, Gabriel was the one picking up an assist in game week 8, but this could have been Timber, right? Both of them start, both picked up clean sheets. So if I remember correctly, I think, once again outing FPL Lisa, she was the one talking me into Timber, to be honest. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Morgan Gibbs-White has scored a penalty for Forest. Nice, 1-0 against Porto. Gibbs White, I wouldn't necessarily say that he is on penalties for Nottingham Forest, even though he scored this evening. Chris Wood not starting this game. Is Igor Jesus starting up front? Chris Wood is actually not in the squad. I actually really like Gibbs White as an FPL option. I had him a couple of times last season. Matsels starting for Nottingham Forest. Matsels, he is one of the players that's really close to dropping in price. It might happen tonight. It's actually two Nottingham Forest players really close to a price drop. It's Enjoy and Matsels. Ben White close to dropping as well, and same goes for Guihi. Kind of surprising seeing Guihi close to a price drop. He has been talked about so much over on X. The potential risers this evening is, I started talking about this, is Reece James, King, the Fulham midfielder, Gakpo, and actually Calvert-Lewin is really close to a price rise as well. One Equan, thanks for joining in. My team, Donnarumma in goal, Senesi, Byrne, Timber, and Chalobah in defense. Enzo Fernandez, Paqueta, Semenyo, 4-3-3 with Erling Haaland, Gyökeres, and Voltmada up top. Bench is Ruffs, Tarkovsky, Grealish, and Anthony. I have 5 free transfers. Should I bench boost or just roll? Will my transfer burn if I don't use any? Seeing that you have 5 free transfers, my advice would be to use 1 or 2 of them. You're not able to have 6 free transfers, so if you don't make any transfers this game week, you will still have 5. So you will burn a transfer if you don't make any changes. I would potentially look at a way to get Saka. I think at the moment, downgrading Gyökeres to bring in Saka, I think this is kind of sideways. So I would just keep Haaland, Gyökeres, and Voltmada. Enzo, really good. Paqueta is still decent. And Semenyo, of course, a really good option. But however, Grealish, I would potentially look at a way to downgrade Grealish. You have 2 midfielders on your bench. I would potentially do something like Grealish to Josh King, Tarkovsky to Gabriel would be my. I think this is worth 2 free transfers. Grealish to Josh King, Tarkovsky to Gabriel. haven't lost faith in Gyökeres. He scored 2 goals in the Champions League. Hopefully he can do well in game week 9. I've had the Crystal Palace defensive stats on the screen a couple of times during the stream, and Crystal Palace, they are actually not that great defensively when we take a look at the last 4 game weeks. So hopefully Gyökeres can deliver in game week 9. I have Erling Haaland. He is my wise captain, Gyökeres captain. I'm not 100% sold on the Gyökeres captaincy, but at least I've had it on Gyökeres for around 20 minutes. So Joe Pedro playing at home against Sunderland. He will start, hopefully he will start as number 10. I think that this is the better position for Joe Pedro. I have Kudus and NGI playing against each other. Hopefully this will be a game with a lot of goals. I have Pedro Porro in this fixture as well, and hopefully he can contribute with attacking returns, even though we don't keep a clean sheet. I have Timber. I have Pakita playing against Leeds. Hopefully West Ham can put up a better performance compared to what we saw on Monday against Brentford. I have Mbumo. He was my captain earlier this week, but I think that if I had Bruno Fernandes, he would probably be my game week 9 captain. But Mbumo is not on penalties. Brighton, they have decent defensive stats, and this is the reason why I've gone from Mbumo to Erling Haaland to Gyökeres. I might actually go back to Erling Haaland ahead of the game week 9 deadline, but I'll make a decision on my captaincy tomorrow. Let's take a look at the poll. Erling Haaland, he is the favorite, 76%, Saka 7%, Semenyo 14%, someone else 3%, so probably just one vote for someone else. So Haaland, Saka, Semenyo, the most popular captain options in the chat. I started the stream by saying that I'm not really confident ahead of game week 9. I have defenders playing against my midfielders, Pedro Porro playing against NGI as mentioned. I have Fabian Schär. He will probably not start for Newcastle in game week 9, so this is a priority for me. So if I decide to use my transfer, it will probably be to sell Fabian Schär. The thing is that I'm not really sure who I will bring in. I talked about Diouf in my team selection videos. I had a look at the stats. So Diouf is a decent option, but I was not impressed by the West Ham performance on Monday. Kukureya could be an interesting option, but I'm 0.1 short. Reece James is probably the favorite, so Fabian Schär to Reece James might happen ahead of game week 9. My only worry with bringing in a Chelsea defender is the fact that I will be tripled up on Chelsea, so I will not be able to bring in Enzo Fernandez. A league for your subscribers would be awesome to follow along. Actually, this has been a problem this season. I actually created 2 head-to-head leagues. The only problem is that for some reason the first league was closed for entries after the upcoming deadline. I made a new league to alter this, so people were able to still join the league. I might have to create a new classic league where I remember to check for the league to be able to join, for new entries to join. So I haven't set this up yet, but I will actually create a new league, a classic league for new subscribers, stuff like that. I totally agree that this would be really interesting, and I have actually, as mentioned, created 2 head-to-head leagues. Let's go check how many. So I have the league that I created in preseason. There are a lot of entries in this league. I can potentially post, but there are too many entries in this league to actually keep track of who's in and who's not. But so this league actually has 249 entries. I will post the link in the chat. Just give me a minute. Page not found, sorry, but the page you were looking for can't be found. You can return to the home page and try again. I think this league is closed for entries as well. Let's try to create a new league. Create a league and a cup. So let's call this league any suggestions? TFS Live League. Scoring starts. Maybe I should start the scoring from game week 9. That would be interesting. So even though if you've had a kind of a tough start in the TFS Live League, there's still a chance. Well, that was quick. TFS Live League. Not closed for new entries. Invite players. So if you're interested, I will post this link under my next videos, stuff like that. So I just created a new league. It's a classic league. I've tried to create a couple of head-to-head leagues, but those leagues, they have been closed for new entries after the next deadline. So I created a new league, so it will be for all the managers joining. Those streams will be really interesting to see who does well going forward. So the scoring starts in game week 9. So go ahead and join that league if you're interested. Ben Duxbury, reckon S2O starts. I actually think that at least the predicted Chelsea starting lineup actually has Guhi up front and Joe Pedro as the number 10. Pedro Neto, he will definitely start. Of course, there is a possibility that S2O starts, but I'm not really confident. I wouldn't necessarily sell him, but at least he's not in the predicted starting 11. That's all I can say for now. Amazing, I'll join straight away, and please don't blame me if Gyökeres falls short versus Holland this week. So this was your plan all along, right? You made me create the league after you saw I put the captaincy on Gyökeres, because you know he will blank and you will be on top of the new mini league. FPL FOMO just joined, currently 5.9 million. Thanks for joining. As always, FPL FOMO, one of my, I think, first viewers on those streams. Really appreciate it. That must have been like over a year ago at this point. Started doing live streams at the start of the 24-25 season. Not really sure why I'm showing that picture out. It's just white and you can't really see what's in the text. Let's put this back on. You know what? I just recently discovered that I actually can alter the text, the scrolling text at the bottom. So I will, let's see, copy the league code for my new league. There it is. I'm not really good at those technical things, but I'm getting a bit better. Let's see if I can edit the text. So if I join the new mid league and the code is, hopefully the new code is in the texts at the bottom. Ben Duxbury, who do you think are the best United attackers, if any, to get? I still think that Bruno Fernandes is the best United option. He's close to DEFCONs every game week. He's on set pieces. He is still their first choice penalty taker. And he can score goals from open play as well. He's playing a bit deeper compared to Cunha and Mbumo. But I still think that Bruno Fernandes is the best option. I really like Mbumo as well. I'm happy to have Mbumo going forward, but if I were to pick one of them, Bruno Fernandes would be the one. But if you can't afford Bruno Fernandes, I think Mbumo is definitely a really good alternative. In my wildcard video, I'm actually talking about OB as well, the 4.3 fodder. So if you decide to play with a fodder on your bench, I think that OB is a really good option. His price has gone down to 4.3, and I really like him much better than Guihi at the moment. Guihi, he is taking up a valuable Chelsea spot. They have really good options. I think Sanchez is one of the best goalkeepers at the moment. They have some interesting defenders, and I think that especially when Cole Palmer is injured, I think that Enzo Fernandez is a really, really good option. On penalties. So yeah, Bruno Fernandes would be my first choice Man United attacker. So let's have a look at the fixtures. Morgan Gibbs-White, as FPL FOMO wrote in the chat, he has given Nottingham Forest the lead. 1-0 up, scored a penalty. Chris Wood is not on the pitch for Nottingham Forest. Aston Villa started well against Go Ahead Eagles, but at the moment they conceded 2 goals late, so Aston Villa lost that game. Let's have a look at Crystal Palace. Really strong starting 11 for Crystal Palace. Let's see how that fixture goes. Still no goals. Crystal Palace against Larnaca. Half-time 0-0. My only Crystal Palace player at the moment is Sar. He's currently on my bench. Let's see if someone is watching this without sound. So I actually got this tip. I will try to be better when I get questions like from Ben Duxbury, who do you think are the best United attackers, if any, to get? So a live advice is to write some of the answers as well. So I will just say that Bruno is my Bruno would be my preferred Man United attacker, but as mentioned, I think Mbumo is a solid alternative. So remember, this is a Friday deadline, game week 9 deadline is tomorrow evening. It's 21 hours and 28 minutes away. I will have a deadline stream tomorrow, a couple of hours before the deadline. I usually do those Q&As the night before the deadline, so it's usually on a Friday. I make weekly team selection videos as well. If you want to support the channel, go watch those videos as well. I'm getting really close to have enough watch time hours to turn on the membership. It will definitely be free to become a member of this channel, of course. But I think it would be cool to be able to have members as well. Jonathan, best of luck in game week 9. Also think Ekitiki deserves a shout for this game week. I definitely agree, especially after the injury news. Thing is, I actually prefer Gakpo at the moment. I think that he is the Liverpool attacker to target. Ahead of the season, I think that Gakpo, I was really expecting Gakpo to see more rotation, especially after the Alexander Isak transfer from Newcastle to Liverpool. I was expecting the front three to be something like Ekitiki or Alexander Isak playing on the left, the other one as number 9 and Salah on the right. But Gakpo, he looks to be one of the most nailed Liverpool attackers at the moment. He's in form as well, should have hauled in game week 8 against Man United. And so captain for differentials. The thing is that Enzo Fernandez, he completely missed out in game week 8. A couple of days later, he started in the Champions League. Is this a good sign for Enzo Fernandez? I think if we get a confirmation that Enzo starts, I think he's a good option. I think it's a bit strange that he was rumored to be injured on Argentina duty. Someone said that it was pre-planned, that Enzo would only play the first game and then travel back to London. He didn't make the squad in game week 8. All of a sudden he started in the Champions League, only played 45 minutes. I think it's kind of hard to call if Enzo Fernandez starts in game week 9 or not. If he does, I think that he is definitely a really, really good captain option. I talked about this a couple of times earlier on this stream. I think game week 9 is a really good game week to go for a captain punt. So my only worry with Enzo Fernandez is his minutes in game week 9. So this is my team at the moment. not really confident. I will most probably transfer out Fabian Schär. My favorite replacement at the moment is Reece James. One of the reasons why I'm a bit reluctant to bring in Reece James is the fact that I will be triple up on Chelsea and I will not be able to bring in Enzo Fernandez. We'll make a decision on this tomorrow on the deadline stream. We'll have as much information as possible. I got a question in the chat. Was this from FPL Lisa? Can you get Gabriel? I'm afraid I don't have enough funds to bring in Gabriel, so I have 0.6 in the bank. Fabian Schär, he is priced at 5.4, so my replacement can't cost more than 6 million. So every defender up to 6 million. I think Kukurea could be interesting as well, but he's 6.1 at the moment. So I have 0.6 in the bank, one free transfer. Fabian Schär, he will probably be gone. He's not in the expected starting lineup for Newcastle. I don't have any good options on my bench. I have Van de Ven, he's playing against Everton, and I have NGI. I have Rodon on the bench, but he would be playing against Paqueta, and I don't like having defenders play against my midfielders. So I'm not really confident. Fabian Schär, I might actually use my only transfer. I will make a decision tomorrow on the deadline stream. And remember, Friday deadline, so it's 21 hours away. So if you're interested, subscribe to the channel. I will have a live deadline stream tomorrow, a couple of hours before the deadline. So if you're interested, go join that one as well. That would be really appreciated. So thanks all for joining in. I will log off in a second. So if you have any other questions, let me know in the chat, or I will hopefully see you tomorrow. And if you don't have the time tomorrow, or if you have something else to do, I hope that you will have a great game week 9 and a good weekend. One positive about the last 30 minutes is that my microphone has actually worked quite well. I had some technical difficulties during the stream earlier. I'm really glad to see my microphone finally cooperated. So thanks for joining in. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. If not, best of luck for game week.